All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode since our lovely hiatus. The entire group is here as usual, the Reactionary trio. Thank you so much for joining us again. D-Dog, what's going on there, brother?
I was just shouting myself hoarse with my reactionary protestations. So I'm doing very well.
It's good. Shout. You need to shout as loud as possible. Get yourself turn your voice into a megaphone for reactionary rhetoric. Russell, how are you doing there?
Yes. Democracy is alive.
I'm doing well. Having a pretty good week so far. Working hard. Yeah, I'm just always keen to be on the show. It's always a good time.
Counting them shekels as always.
Oh, geez, one of them shekels, man.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this show is just so we've actually been invited to go on Conscious Caracol's YouTube channel. I'm sure you've all heard of Conscious Caracol. He's a fantastic YouTuber, very sort of conservative Afrikaans guy. But luckily, we won't have to be doing the show in Afrikaans. Otherwise, that will be an absolute, it'll be an absolute shitstorm. Dylan, you speak a bit of Afrikaans, don't you? Why don't you give us a taste of some of your Afrikaans? Putting you on the spot here.
I dare not.
You're not going to embarrass yourself, man.
I could say I could say that the post office is on the right side of the road. There we go. Waar is die postkantoor? Die postkantoor is op die rechterkant. There we go. There's my hands.
That's totally random.
I don't know. I was teaching myself, and I remember that on the spot.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Anyway, so yeah, so basically what Conscious Caracal wants to chat to us about is practical reactionary ideas for South Africa. So how we can sort of make our ideas sort of materialize into actual practical processes and the ideas of Christian conservatism and all of those sort of things, specifically Christian conservatism, not your degenerate neo-conservatist garbage, but specifically
neo-pagan conservatism.
What Dylan likes to call neo-pagan LARPing.
Yeah. Neo-pagan.
Yes, that's it.
So how do we put these ideas into practicality and stuff? And I'm pretty sure that Conscious Caracal will actually agree with a lot of the stuff that we talk about, because we are very much communitarians.
Yeah, communitarians.
Yeah.
So anyway,
reading some doctrines of another political system, and reading and listening to Ernst and them talking about communitarianism.
Quite.
I wonder what that reminds me of. But we will have that conversation with.
Yes, you can. That's something you guys got to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shocker that will come and shock you. But anyway, Dylan, why don't you go ahead and give us some of your thoughts on how you would sort of materialize or put reactionary concepts into practice?
Well, at the base level, I think the most fundamental thing one can do is to try and live that out in their own lives. So what does that mean? That means certain level of self-discipline, to try and avoid doing the best you can is avoid some of the toxic culture elements, and doing what you can to, meet somebody and have a family. I know that sounds real basic, sort of Jordan Peterson style talking points, but it's true. You need to sort of get in touch with your own spirituality. You need to sort of seriously make an effort to pursue the Lord and try and have it shape your life. I think that's actually one of the most important things you can do. And then to raise up the next generation and instill and communicate these values. One thing that I've learned, becoming a recent father is once you actually have a family, you become a lot more interested in in your surroundings, right? So because you're thinking, at least in my case, I'm thinking about my son. I'm like, okay, I don't want this area to be dangerous for him. I want to be on good conditions with my neighbor. I want to know who they are, and so I can help them. They can help me if we have a problem. We've already done that. So I think family life is a necessity, and it actually, because the nice thing about I would say a lot of reactionary ideas, in quotes, is they're natural to human nature, provided it's not, sort of brainwashed and corrupted by media and stuff. So a lot of the practical ins and outs have to do with family life, faith, and local community. So that means your neighborhood. And then beyond that, trying to affect a larger change. You could do what we're doing right now, I guess, sort of having a discussion and talking to people who are interested, and also supporting and not just saying, oh, what can I do? But there are good organizations out there which are doing good work, like the IRR, which we mentioned in our last episode. They can, benefit from financial support. That's something you can give them if you can do nothing else. I am probably the only Alaskan who is a contributing member to the South African Institute of Race Relations, but there it is. And there's also local community organizations you can do in your own area. It's hungry people. The Christian thing to do is to, in a discerning and careful way, how I can. And, there's also organizations like AfriForum. Give them your money. That's other things. That's another thing you can do.
Yes. I'm sure Conscious Caracal will like that. Go AfriForum.
I'm sure he'd love it. He'd love it. Yes. So, but if there isn't, local organizations in your own area, maybe it's time to start one. Or if you know someone who's in a position who might do that, talk to them. So I think these are all positive little things that you can do. So it's not just, LARPing as a Knights Templar or a Byzantine monk. These are things that you can do in your own life, which will make a difference. Yes, it might be small, but if enough people do it, it will have an effect. So I guess that's what I have to say.
Yeah, Russell, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, look, I mean, the thing is let's wind back the clock 50 years. What Dylan's saying isn't reactionary at all. It's not reactionary to human nature. It's just reactionary to the times. What Dylan's saying isn't anything that is should be new to the human mind. It is the natural progression of things: faith, family, community, country. All these sorts of things are supposed to be part of our existence. And I think one of the most important things, I think people, it's a bit strange, people have been unnaturally taught to do these unnatural things. Okay. So
yeah, I think that's an important point. Yes.
Yeah. People have been taught is unnatural. So I think one of the biggest fronts of a reactionary is the information war. That is where you cannot actually, and it's not necessarily us what we're doing here as an example. It is also you in your general social life. Building into people, asking the questions, educating people, alerting people to things. These are all essential items for building. So wherever you want to be a builder, okay, of what is natural, what God has ordained, all these things. Be a builder of that. That is. Although I'm just adding a bit here to what Dylan said. It's not necessarily reactionary, but in the time it is today, it is actually reactionary, and that's why reactionaries only exist to counter the revolutionaries.
Well, I think
the only reason why we exist is because there are these revolutionaries that want to turn the world upside down, all right,
Yes.
turn it into a despotic world, and that's we are the reactionaries to this. And
Yes.
Yeah. No, there's this this term that this one guy I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah, I think his name was Sam Francis, and he had this term which was called Middle American Radicals, and they're basically just normal people who slowly over time become disgusted with seeing their society around them entirely subverted and destroyed, and then they become radicalized, right? So I'm not like a crazy guy who's like on the fringe and who feels disenfranchised and I can't get laid and I'm angry and I'm going to join some crazy political movement. No, I'm not that. I'm just a normal guy, and I'm sad to see the world around me and the world I'm going to be raising my family in the state that it is, and it it has radicalized me a little bit, and but it's like Russell says, I'm reacting to the unnatural order of the world as I see it, and ultimately I just want a good wholesome society to live in. That's all I want.
However, I do think it's important to note that we don't specify it because for us it goes without saying, and Dylan did kind of allude to it and Russell alluded to it as well, but I just want to make it crystal clear that in our sense, we, like, for example, you can technically be, but it's not going to last, it's not going to work. You can't be a liberal reactionary, okay? You just can't, okay? Because the world that we live in at the moment is a result of liberalization. So you can't say, I don't like this world that we're living in, but the world that we're living in is because of the ideals that you espouse. You know what I mean? So you can't complain. You can't say, I'm a liberal. I believe in unlimited liberty and freedom for at all costs and all this stuff, but the world sucks, and you're like, well, I also want my family to grow up traditional and all that. You can't do that. I'm sorry. You can't be a liberal reactionary. It just doesn't work, because the world that we're in today is a result of liberal. I use it a lot of times because it's such a good word, and Dylan used to use it a lot. He doesn't use it that much anymore. But the world that we live in is a result of liberal degeneracy. Okay, and you can't complain about liberal degeneracy when you are yourself a liberal degenerate. So the idea of being a reactionary is very specifically faith-based, and in our condition, it's Christian-based, because the only reason is because there is a strong conservative line that runs through a reactionary's life, okay? But that conservative line has to be backed by Christianity. It cannot just be your sort of neoconservatism. I believe in mowing my grass on a Saturday, or I believe in, my kids going to my wife staying home. And no, that's not what conservatism is. Okay, that conservatism has to be backed by a strong Christian faith within your family, and that would then expand to the community and so on.
It's like I said, faith, family, community, nation.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a good one. That's a T-shirt slogan. That.
Yes, that is a good T-shirt slogan. That would make an amazing.
That's a T-shirt, reactionary shirt that we've got to have made. That on it.
Yeah.
Actually,
and I think the thing is that, like what Scott was saying, I guess how do I put it? I largely agree. I guess the I'll just add a bit of nuance to it. So you can be just the sort of go along to get along. I'm just whatever. and still be, kind of culturally sort of conservative. But the problem is people like that, they sort of get pulled and tugged with the times because they're not anchored to anything. So even if you are just sort of like, just an agnostic, I don't know, man, it's whatever sort of guy, but the broader culture around you is a sort of conservative Christian one, then that's good. That's sort of sustainable. Maybe you're always going to have these outliers, but you can't have a whole society like that, because at that point it's rootless, right? So you can have the one guy who's fine doing his own thing, but basically the only way to sustain a more traditional way of doing things and still having it be coherent, right, is it has to be anchored in in the Christian faith, I think, in the West. And other societies have other traditions, and obviously our tradition's better, but it does a similar sort of thing. And the places where you see that religion is eroded in society, then there's the inevitable leftward drift. So
I think I just want to add something to that as well, Dylan, with regards to the family and stuff. Is I think that specifically myself and Dylan as new parents and stuff, our ultimate goal, or our absolute goal as parents, should be our legacy. So, for example, making sure that what we develop now is what is left for our children, and then what those children develop is left for those children, and so on and so on and so on. Because that's where it comes in with the conservative idea and stuff. And Dylan alluded to something, I just can't quite remember what he said, that kind of reaffirms that idea. But the idea is essentially to preserve something that you have that gets passed on to your children, and then your children's children, and so on and so on and so on.
Mm. Yeah. Fundamentally, I mean, that's sort of what we're about. We're trying to create a wholesome little Christian bubble, and
sustainability. It's sustainability. Yeah. It's not about. We most liberals and. Okay, a lot of people that are not reactionary or hard conservatives and stuff, they're not really, all they're worried about is themselves, really. They're very sort of, it's all about them, they're not really worried about what else goes on around them, you know what I mean? That's why you'll get things like a lot of liberal degenerates and stuff, don't have kids, don't get married, don't do this, don't do that, you know what I mean?
Love to travel.
Love to travel.
Yeah. Another thing,
Bali, my favorite place. Bali.
Scott, another thing reactionaries are is they're anti-materialist.
Oh, absolutely, rude. That's like, well, not in the sense that we don't like nice things, okay?
Or in the philosophy that basically, not anti-materialist that we live like paupers, even though we can afford not to, but anti-materialist in the order of importance.
Absolutely, in the existence.
You're not going to see any reactionaries on OnlyFans, basically.
Essentially, what it is
because there's more important things than money at the end of the
day. Yes, exactly, precisely. And it's not only you see, it's the metaphysical or the spiritual and the material world that have a sort of a balance between the two of them. You can't have one without the other, you know what I mean? And liberals and stuff, what they do is, capitalists, for example, they will then, capitalists the same as Marxists, end up making they're materialists. They make humans into economic units. That's why I'm not a capitalist. People get super triggered when I tell them I'm not a capitalist and stuff. But I'm just not. You can't separate the two. You can't separate the human from the spiritual world. You just can't. We're inherently religious. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's true. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what more I could say on it, but yeah, I think that's it. It's just fundamentally living your life in an immaterial way. So we need material things, but I mean, and we're not saying you can't have nice things, or it's a sin to be rich or anything like that. No, we're not saying that, but that can't be your
guiding light.
Yeah, it can't be your prime. My prime directive is to acquire shekels. That can't be it. Yeah. So you got to it's about higher things, and fundamentally, that's family and faith. And then once you have those, it's all starts. And this is where I'm gonna go with the Jordan Peterson angle. You got to clean your room and get yourself sorted out. And then once you do that, then you get the family. Then all of a sudden, now you have an investment in the community. And then, your community is affected by national economic trends and policies and stuff. So, but it all sort of starts down fundamentally with the spiritual walk and the family walk. And then sort of once you have those things, then all of a sudden the stakes are a lot higher. And you're not just going to say, oh, just give me UBI and I'll just whack off in my basement playing video games and stuff, because at that point, you're like, no. There's a lot more at stake than just pursuing pleasure or, what's good for me, because you have a stake in the future. So yeah. I guess that's all I have to say.
Get Jesus, get a wife, get children, get a gun, and get reactionary.
And get gold.
Gold, guns, gold, and a getaway plan. Always.
Guns, gold, getaway plan.
Anyway, is there anything else that you guys want to add?
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Cool. Anyway, so yeah, guys, come check us out. We're going to be on the Conscious Caracals channel next week. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this little conversation, because I'm sure that a lot of people have been wondering, what is this whole reactionary thing? What are you guys talking about? When this weird opinion that you have, but now hopefully you have an idea of what it's about. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Remember to subscribe, like the video, share it, please, with your friends and families to get the reactionary ideas out there. Thank you so much again for listening. Stay reactionary out there, because
God wills it.
God wills it. Well, hello there. If you've made it this far, it means that you really enjoy the reactionary material. Remember to subscribe, share the content, and if you have any questions or any statements or anything that you'd like to let us know, just leave it down in the comments section, and we will definitely 100% respond to your comments or your questions. Thank you again for joining us. Stay reactionary out there. God bless everyone. And remember, God wills it.